Joining me now for my final panel of the night, One Nation Chief of Staff James Ashby and Sky's contributor Gary Hargreaves. Gents, we've talked a lot about negative ads. I don't think there's been enough of them from the coalition side, from the centre-right side in this campaign. Have a look at this one.
We can't get any housing, we can't get rentals anymore, we have no future in this country anymore. Don't you think that's kind of ridiculous? No?
No, we're just taking questions from journalists.
Australians around the country who are unable to afford housing.
Why did you let 200,000 migrants into the country last month when we've got a cost of living crisis?
Young people being priced out of the housing market, people can't afford rent.
Divisive, dishonest, doesn't care.
Authorised by Evil, Surrey Hills, NSW.
Now, I don't know who this mob is, but these are sharp, they're pointed advertisements, the sort of stuff the Libs should have been running a month or more ago. Gary, what do you think?
Well, Peter, the residual anger towards this bloke Albanese got elected with 31% of the primary vote last time, and basically we now know he fibbed his way into office. So the anger is there, it's tapping into that anger, and you're right, it should have been very clear, very straightforward, sharp challenge for people to get angry at him. Instead, Labor shifted it and turned it into a get angry at Dutton because he's trying to fix up the mess. So we needed a circuit breaker of some description in the debate, the public debate on this election campaign. And it's been lacklustre. It just hasn't been there. But we're now starting to see some sharpness out there. And I think there's a result that's building because the residual anger is strong. The anger is strong towards Alba.
Look, I agree with you. You look at the news poll, they don't want to re-elect this bloke. You know, I was taught in politics that when your base is telling you that the ads are so negative, pull back from the negative ads, you're just about where you need to be. But right now, when I speak to Liberal voters, Liberal supporters, they are begging me to send a message to head office to say we need negative ads. So that's very telling. Hey, Jacinta Nampijinpa-Price was out there at Mount Arapiles today. This is where rock climbers, James Ashby, have been shut out of some of the best natural climbing peaks in the country because of so-called heritage restrictions. Have a listen.
We want to get the balance right, so we want to make sure that we are looking after our natural environment and those culturally significant places, that we're protecting those areas, but that we're not stifling projects from going forward as well. And that's ultimately what it's all about.
James, she's talking about resource projects, but she's also talking about access to parks that are common property of every Australian, not just those with a particular shade of skin colour. Why is this so important?
Well, it's so important because people are tired of hearing new decisions that have been handed down by our courts and by our governments that want to constantly lock everyday Australians out of some of the best places in the country, where a lot of us go for a bit of R&R to take that stress valve and release it on a weekend, and we're constantly being locked out. This is too late, though. You know, when you've got 25-30% of the population who've already made that decision to cast their vote early, and a couple of days left before these ads, and a lot of the media have already formed an opinion on who's going to win, the momentum has been lost by the coalition. Jacinta Price should have been brought out months ago to run these arguments that the public would have jumped on board. Instead, it's been left to Pauline Hanson and One Nation to run this argument that we want to end the native title claims. We want to end cultural heritage. We've had the cut through, and Peter Dutton has been left wanting those votes, and he certainly doesn't have the numbers as it sits right now to form government in his own right. I only hope in the last few days Jacinta Price gets on a soapbox and spruiks this as loud and clear as possible, because I'm happy to lose votes to Jacinta Price, but I'm not happy to continue seeing Albanese win the hearts of people through his lies across the country.
I think that's a very, very good point that James is making there, Gary, because it's referencing what Cod Samaras just said, that there's a massive other vote out there, and the coalition would be competitive on Saturday night if they at least score most of those preferences, like Labor does from the Greens, on the centre-right. If it got the preferences, not necessarily the primary vote, but it got the preferences coming back to them. Ditto Dutton today on Qantas and those welcomes to country every time it lands. Again, why wasn't this spoken about before today?
Yeah, and timidity should never be rewarded. Look, the point here is that I've sat on plenty of Qantas flights. At the end of the flight, people groan every time they hear that welcome to country stuff, and you think it's the engine still running. Peter, people want common sense, cut through, clear messaging. That's what they wanted. They wanted from day one. Mamby-pambying, stepping around things just doesn't work. But at the pointy end of this, it's always been the case that you can vote for minor parties, with great respect to James. You can vote for all sorts of people in the House of Representatives, but you've still got to make a binary choice between Albo or Dutton. It's as simple as that. And I think that's what Liberal voters are doing right now. They're saying, you know what, I want the team that I normally support to smarten their act up, but there's no way I'm stupid enough to vote for Albanese. I'm going to send a message by passing my preferences firstly to the Liberal candidate in my local area, and then it'll go to the Teals and the Greens and Labor, because those three, that troika, are bad
someone's
enough.
Got to teach these parties a lesson, Gary. And that's why they're coming to us. They're coming to us because they're sick to death of the Liberal Party being mamby-pamby. They know that we'll stand up and we'll actually hold the Bunsen burner to Peter Dutton's feet if he's going to form government, because he can make all these promises, but if he doesn't follow through, he's weak. We need more from him, and that's why we're happy to give him a go with preferences, but that's it.
Will move. The preferences
Thanks
will
very
move.
much. All right, that's it. That's it for the gents tonight, but I can't.